And let's get into our guests. He's Marty Young from Pennsylvania, running for congressional PA6. What's going on?
Hey Chris, hey Sergio, thanks for having me on. Great to see you guys and looking forward to having the conversation today.
Absolutely. Welcome to Show Me the Money, episode 198, Marty. We're two from 200 consecutive episodes. And maybe you can do something when you get to Congress. You can we can have like Seinfeld. We can get some residuals out of it. But anyway, so welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself and then we'll get going.
Sure, my name's Marty Young. I am running for Congress for Pennsylvania 6, and I've got a lot of experience in terms of a couple of things. One is working in business turnaround, restructuring, fixing broken companies. I've actually also created a insurance company that did provide coverage to Uber drivers back when there were sort of large coverage gaps. And today, continues to serve, the taxi limo industry. As you know, there are now Uber drivers that do that, called Buckle. Through that experience, I learned a lot about the gig economy. And then as I was learning about that, I realized I'm a gig worker too, because I've spent almost 30 years in the U.S. military, with over 20 of it in the Army Reserves and National Guard. So kind of for a lot of military reservists, their duty on weekends, 2 weeks a month, and a deployment every now and then is really kind of their side hustle. And through that experience, learned a lot about how the U.S. military provides benefits and coverages to those sort of part-time military members. And I see a lot of parallels there to basically help people in the gig workforce, not just Uber and Lyft, but the reality is there are a lot of people doing side hustles and gig work that could use some help and covering the benefit gap
Yeah.
that many workers work under.
Yeah. As you know, Uber and Lyft and all the on-demand platforms call us independent contractors,
Hmm.
which I don't believe we are truly. But then that's another show, another debate. However, as independent contractors, we have to provide everything for ourselves, from maintaining our cars to buying our own insurance and everything else. And insurances in this country, from car insurance to health insurance, we know what the premiums are, what's going through. So what type of insurance? I know about Buckle, but is it just rideshare insurance, or what other types of insurance are we talking about here?
Yeah, so really, as part of my congressional platform, I put together a program called the Young Americans Healthcare Plan, which is really using a program called Tricare that covers 10 million Americans today, that I think provides an exciting opportunity to basically help out independent contractors and gig workers. In fact, I bet you have a lot of military reservists and National Guardsmen driving for Uber and Lyft. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
And I bet you a lot of them have a program called Tricare.
Okay.
And that's what I want to sort of explain to you. What is Tricare? And so Tricare is essentially a military healthcare plan. There are multiple Tricare programs. But what's important to understand is over the last 25 years, really after 9/11, we could not have fought the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, or quite frankly, even the operations happening overseas today, without military reservists, those sort of part-time folks serving in the U.S. military, whether soldiers, sailors, airmen, or Marines. And what the military learned was when you deploy these folks, you're not deploying them out of major military bases. You're not deploying them out of Fort Bragg or Fort Campbell. You're deploying them out of, inner city Philadelphia, or, Orange County, or Reading, Pennsylvania, or, small towns like Coatesville, Pennsylvania. And when we did that, we quickly realized that a lot of these folks had families when they were deployed. They had spouses, they had kids, they had pregnant wives. And the military had to build a private healthcare system, private network of healthcare providers, so that when somebody was deployed, and even you can kind of think of real examples, somebody's sort of under fire and Baghdad. Like they did not have the time, energy, or inclination to worry about whether or not their pregnant wife was going to be okay. So we built this private care network for these now millions of Tricare members. And when you look at it, it's actually much, much cheaper than what's going on with Medicaid or CHIP. It's much cheaper than private healthcare insurance. And when you look at certain programs like Tricare Young Adult or Tricare Retired Reserve, which the US government provides zero subsidy, meaning that the military member has to pay full freight for their healthcare insurance. Just to give you a barometer check, your full cost under Tricare Young Adult, age 23 to 26, is only about $3,000 a year, and that covers you fully without any subsidies from the US government. And then if you're a retired service member in the reserves, you enter this gray period between ages 38 and 60, and your full freight cost for healthcare with no government subsidies under Tricare Retired Reserve is only $10,000 a year. So when I explain these numbers to people, they realize, well, that's a lot different than what I'm seeing. And then the last part of my program, which is essentially to offer these programs to just folks ages, call it 23 to 60, but also to do universal health care for all kids, young adults, and expectant mothers.
Okay. As you may know, 99.9% of our audience are Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, DoorDash couriers.
Yep.
And so how does that apply to our audience, what you're trying to do? And specifically, I'm sure you're working on a bill. When you do get elected, you're going to put it in action. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it should save the average family 5 to 10,000 a year, and the average worker probably about 5,000 a year. This also helps some gig workers who are trying to stay within the Medicaid chip limits. They could actually earn more. So if you complement this with no tax on tips, they can now earn more, and they don't have to worry about losing their healthcare coverage. So really, when you get down to show me the money, if you would, this is about hopefully cutting down a whole bunch of inefficiency, middlemen, fraud, waste, and abuse in our healthcare system, and basically handing it back to basically workers, which for the gig workers, it's 5 to 10,000 a year.
Yeah, I mean, most drivers obviously are tight budgets. They're running on tight budgets, and if you do follow the industry, which it seems like you have, with inflation and cost of living increases, Uber and Lyft being Grinch as far as driver pay is concerned is pretty obvious to us, and any savings obviously would be considered helpful. Most of the drivers that I speak to when it comes to healthcare, there are some states that do provide, such as California. If you work enough hours, they'll give you a healthcare stipend where you can go and use it and things like that. But most states, I'm sure, I don't know if Pennsylvania has it or not. I don't think it does. But it's definitely going to be helpful because most of them are on Medicaid and either state-funded, subsidized health insurance, which I'm not sure how good that is, or also federally funded subsidies. So your program that you're advocating for gig workers, right? Other than saving, obviously, as you said, tremendous amount of money over regular health insurance, which I don't think any courier or delivery driver or rideshare driver can afford, should definitely be helpful. So let's talk a little bit about your campaign. And you're from PA 06. I see it here. How's the campaign going, and what's going on there?
Yeah, I think it's going really well. I mean, healthcare is a big issue for everybody.
Yes.
And to your point, I understand, we live in a country right now where over half the kids in the US are on Medicaid or CHIP, over half the kids. But if you use Tricare rather than Medicaid, we can do universal health care for all kids. And we could save the government tens of billions a year. And when you do that and you sort of move into this very different administrative structure that's Tricare, it really helps families at all levels. And what my brand is, what my theme is for running for U.S. Congress, is really to help families form and flourish. And back in my buckle days, we would ask the question, "Why do you drive? Why do
Yeah.
you drive?" And the answer many times was they were driving for family, right? They're driving for their kids. They're driving for their, potentially a spouse that was sick. They're driving for a lot of different reasons. And rarely was it just about themselves. It was really about somebody else in
Yeah.
many cases.
Well,
And so, yeah,
it seems like we have a K-shaped economy as it is, right? The
mhm,
well-to-do are on the upper slope or ascending part of the K, and then the gig drivers or gig workers somehow fall under the descending part of it. And yeah, any help that would,
yeah,
give them a hand. I mean, I know why people drive, right? Some of them drive because they're retired, they want to get out of the house, but most people drive because they need the cash. I mean, they need to put food on the table. They need to pay the rent and phone bills and whatever because bills don't stop. So when you do get to Congress, hopefully, uh, what is your first line of action?
yeah. So the first one's the healthcare. The second one is I'm going to give you the preview here. But I think it's really important that we give folks that are trying to basically build families and families themselves help in housing.
Yeah,
And what I would tell you is one of the reasons you're seeing the K-shaped economy was because of very low interest rates really created an increase in housing prices and just crushed people,
correct.
particularly a lot of basically gig workers. So, one of the big complaints many people have are firms like Blackstone and BlackRock buying up single family homes. And the reason they're doing it is they have a lower interest rate than the average person has. That's why that's happening.
Yeah,
So the second thing I'm focused on, which I'll go into a lot more detail next quarter, but you're getting the preview, is zero interest loans
okay,
for basically for families, because it's not just an issue of affordability. We need people to actually acquire and accumulate wealth in this country, and for many people, you do that because you own a house. So if we have a program where people can buy a house with zero interest, they pay off the house in 15 years or less, then they can accumulate wealth. And until people can actually accumulate wealth, they're always going to be basically, fighting, basically to stay essentially one step away from poverty. And we can't have that. Not if we want to have success with people raising families and really being able to have those families flourish and prosper. So, healthcare basically solves a lot of what I call the cost side. But I think zero rate loans for homeowners, for families, solves not just the cost side, but it'll also enable people to build real wealth. Because in 15 years, if you own your house, that completely changes one's lifestyle. Once you own your house, you have a different life.
yeah, I agree with you on one thing for sure, which is financial freedom through financial literacy. And we know why 10% of the folks in the United States own 87% of the assets because they
Yeah,
invest. And we need to teach people how to invest if they have money left over from gig work, obviously. So we have a couple of minutes remaining. So I'll give you
sure.
the floor, close us up.
Thank you. So, well, thank you for your time today, and really excited to tell you a little bit about my platform. VoteYoung.com is my website, voteyoung.com. You'll see all the details on my healthcare fix, and soon you'll see some details on this sort of 0% loan program, which is really designed not just to solve housing affordability, but help people actually build wealth. And so please spread the word, because I think these ideas are a long time coming, because we need to grow the size of the pie for everybody, and we need to
Yeah.
make sure everybody gets a piece of the pie.
All right.
And for too many people, the pie may be growing, but they're not getting a piece of it. So we need to make sure
I
everybody.
completely agree with you. In fact, I think we have an audience member, maybe from Pennsylvania. He may
Okay.
know you, Marty. He goes, you know what I want? Cheaper electric bills, cheaper water bills, low cost insurance across the board, including auto. Well, there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, so go
So
vote for Marty, then,
yeah, no,
sir,
thank
whoever
you.
you are.
And by the way, if we do this healthcare fix I'm talking about, your auto rates will come down. because now basically, a lot of the indemnity that's currently on the auto insurance companies will move into the healthcare system where they belong and basically bring down the cost of insurance.
Okay.
So it's a very holistic fix.
All right. Well, we appreciate you showing up. Thank you for your
Yeah.
time. We'll please keep us posted of how the campaign is going,
Will
and
do.
we'll follow up. Hopefully, maybe have a return visit.
Yeah, that sounds great. Sergio and Chris, thank you. Thank you for
All right.
having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, thanks for watching. That short little clip was from our live stream, Show Me the Money Club with Sergio and myself, Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Make sure you subscribe, turn on all notifications so you'll be notified when we go live, as well as all of our awesome content. Make sure to check out this video right here, which will take you to the entire live stream, or check out this video right there. All right, drive smart, everyone.